Hello and welcome back to today's episode of Quasimorph Lore. In these short videos, I'll be going over parts of the lore in Quasimorph that I find interesting. The focus of today's video, RealWare, are known as being the largest producers of weapons, armor, and ships, as well as being a member of the Hexarchy. And much like the rest of the Hexarchy, RealWare's history can be traced back to before the Great Anarchist Revolution. In the grim darkness of the mid-21st century, there was only war, and at the center of all these conflicts were the many arms companies that supplied both sides. However, as time went on, the many wars that were happening began to escalate, and the arms companies that were wrapped up in the middle found it increasingly harder and harder to protect their own interests outside of their own boundaries. Because of this, all of the companies began to hire several private armies in order to ensure extraterritoriality. Things would quickly spiral out of control, however, due to the fact that the leadership of these private armies took it upon themselves to pursue a policy of entryism. As a result, one of these private armies forced several corporations to unite under one name: RealWare. But of course this would lead to several long and drawn-out armed conflicts within the newly formed entity. Truly, the RealWare Corporation was forged in fire and blood. Sometime after their tumultuous start, RealWare exploded onto the scene of the Great Anarchist Revolution during the beginning, and although it was the failed policies of corrupt governments that led to the dissolution of UN2, the ones that struck the first major blow against UN2 and kicked off the Great Anarchist Revolution were RealWare. They launched thermonuclear warheads from a complex ironically named Day of Fire on a place known as Geneva, which served as the headquarters for UN2. The Day of Fire, the aforementioned complex which carried out the attack, now sits in orbit around Pluto, an eternal reminder of how the liberation of humanity began. Now, in the present, RealWare continues its policies of protecting the ANCAP system that we all know and love from any destabilization by being an anarcho-capitalist bulldog. What this means is that unlike other corporations like ANCOM or SBN, RealWare does not engage in propaganda, but instead it proves in practice that the free market is the key to a fair society. RealWare also openly states that its own values are based on contempt for the purely reputational and investment sectors of the market, and that it is ready to send countless employees to their deaths in the name of protecting the ability of others to do whatever they want and thereby work for the benefit of humanity. Truly, RealWare is absolutely based as fuck. But of course, these declarations do not stop RealWare from investing in the most profitable sectors of the economy. However, at the end of the day, RealWare's real strength is the production of some of the best, if not the best, weapons, spacecraft, and defense systems in the entire galaxy. Now, if you look a bit deeper into RealWare themselves, you'll find that it has strict discipline structure and a complex system of internal regulations, one of the reasons being that RealWare tries to imitate the image of the ancient Roman Empire, which is why some refer to them as simply the Empire. However, despite this, RealWare outright rejects any comparison of itself to any national state and considers it propaganda of the horrible civil resistance, and this is not hard to believe considering the fact that RealWare's warehouses, which are usually overflowing with weaponry, are the civil resistance #1 target for attack. A fair bit is known about the people behind RealWare. Their corporation is managed by the Board of Trustees, and they are headed by a precinctor, and for 20 years now that position has been held by a man named Ian Fraser, who is a role model for everyone in the ANCAP system, a man who has realized the solar dream. He started as a lowly janitor at one of the RealWare stations, passed an interview for the position of security guard, and then moved up the ranks until he reached the top of RealWare. And in addition to him, the head of all armed employees of the corporation is the security legatus. The position is currently held by Ian Fraser's recently appointed bruiser Angus Dungeon. Interestingly, there are rumors that the previous security legatus died during an operation that was taking place on Venus against another company, which was most likely Tezextlan or Ancom, due to the location, and it would mean that, despite the fact the Hexarchy doesn't fight amongst themselves in-game, the same might not have always been true. But since the security legatus has control over the military and Ian Fraser controls the rest, this means that RealWare is a diarchy or duumvirate, which is a form of leadership which is characterized by two people ruling together either lawfully or de facto, usually by collusion and force. An interesting fact about RealWare is, like most white guys in their mid to late 20s, they are obsessed with ancient Rome and are certified Romaboos. And as such, their security legatus are named after the legate of ancient Rome, who were high-ranking military officers. Another fact about RealWare is that for some reason all nuclear weapons were given to RealWare by the Hexarchy, and it is believed that only they are capable of ensuring their safekeeping. The norms of the new corporate ethics enshrine this position, as well as the responsibility that RealWare bears for such trust from all participants of the ANCAP system. Now, getting into the game itself, after everything I've told you about how RealWare is known for weapons manufacturing, you would expect them to have some pretty bitching exclusive equipment. Well, don't you worry, mercenary, because RealWare definitely has fun toys for you to enjoy. Like the Retribution, a RealWare exclusive variant of the assault rifle called Punishment, with a longer range and a much larger magazine size, as well as a max damage of 40 and a crit damage of 170%, this beauty looks and performs amazingly. Interestingly, the Retribution bears resemblance to the FB MSBS GRO-RC, a Polish modular assault rifle developed by FB Lushnik Rodem. But now let's look at some of the most recognizable and badass armor in Quasimorph, the Carnage Pattern Armor. With a 16 in defense in everything except poison, shock, and beam, this bright red armor not only looks great, it also works great too. And while maybe not as cool looking in my opinion, the Warlord pattern set offers even more protection, with a 19 in everything except poison, shock, and beam. Which means everything short of some of the more dangerous Quasimorphs are going to have a hard time stopping you from slaughtering your way through the system while experiencing the many horrific wonders of Quasimorph. Thank you for watching today's video on RealWare. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe, and put any thoughts you had on the video, or just anything in general, down in the comments below. I would love to hear any feedback or suggestions for what to make videos on in the future. But for now, remember to stay safe out there, mercenaries. Until next time.